An entire world is ready
for you to start your career teaching the path to wellness.
Mastering the science of mindfulness.
And the art of coaching.
To help clients achieve mental, emotional, and physical betterment of life.
Through movement,
nutrition,
recovery, and regeneration.
Because impacting one person impacts a family.
Impacting a family impacts a community.
And impacting a community impacts the world.
Become an NASM certified wellness coach.
Hey everyone, welcome to our Strong Mind, Strong Body podcast. I'm your host, Angie Miller, and speaking of wellness, today I want to talk to you about some wellness trends in 2022. Turns out there's a lot of wellness trends out there, and it's pretty fascinating actually to read about. So wellness, for everything that it encompasses, has had a profound influence on my life, pretty much personally and professionally, because I believe in the power of a healthy mind as much as I believe in the power of a healthy body. And that's what really drove my decision to go into mental health and to combine that love and that work with what I do in fitness. So basically, I feel like I've spent the last few decades kind of on a bridge, and here's fitness and here is mental health. And I want to bridge the gap between the two and say, you know, for some people, it's hard to get motivated to exercise when they feel like they don't have healthy emotions. And for a lot of people, it's hard to have healthy emotions when it feels like they don't have a healthy body. So I really do think they go together, and you really can't have one without the other. So I spent a lot of time reading, researching, kind of geeking out about wellness and mental health and fitness and what I can do to help my clients both in mental health and in fitness feel good inside and out. What's out there, what's available to them on a consumer level, and what's available in the research that supports what I can do to help them on every level. And so that's kind of what I did for this podcast. I did a little deep dive into really what's available on a consumer level. What are some of the trending stuff in 2022? When you say wellness, what's out there? And I have to tell you, we would have to be here all night long for all of the trends that I found. It was actually fascinating. So there will be more to come. Trust me. But for now, I've got some that I just want to share with you. Some that you might say, those aren't trendy at all. And some you might be a little bit surprised by. I don't know. I guess it just depends on how much you're paying attention to what's out there in terms of wellness. So some of these I thought, I don't know if I'm even interested in trying, and some of them were kind of fascinating. I read a lot about psychedelics, but I decided not to cover psychedelics today. That could be a whole nother show. But let's face it, wellness is here to stay. And I say, finally, hooray. After all these years, we're finally talking about bridging the gap between emotions, exercise, mental health, all those wonderful things that make us feel good inside and out. And, you know, I know that it feels like wellness took this big surge because of the pandemic. And I do think that it did because, you know, we were more in crises than we have been in many, many years. But I don't think that wellness is a trend. Wellness is here to stay. It's something that's going to be with us for the long haul. It just pointed a finger that we needed more tips and tricks to help us all feel better inside and out. All right, I'm losing you guys here. So remember, wellness isn't a trend. It's a lifestyle. It's the way that we practice, just like fitness is a lifestyle. We have to practice being healthy. So the first wellness trend that I want to talk about, you're going to say, this isn't a trend, is walking. And I know walking's not new. It's not a trend, but let's face it. Walking became more trendy during the pandemic. And I have to laugh over kind of why it became trendy because, you know, there are some more trends in walking, like walking meditations. I talk to my clients a lot about doing a walking meditation. There's also, doing gratitude walks. There's all kinds of things out there on social media, people promoting different ways that you can walk in a more spiritual or enlightened way to add something to your walk. But anymore, it feels like walking isn't just to get from point A to point B. A lot of times walking is to get out of the confines of the four walls of your home or your apartment, because work is done from home and home is at home. And so sometimes we just need to walk to get away. So it's not even that we have a purpose or a place that we're going. We just want to get outside more and be a part of nature, listen to birds and say hello to people and exchange smiles. So, but what is a little more trendy in walking is what's available out there that's kind of motivating us to walk. So for instance, I use Audible. That's what really gets me going. In fact, it makes me want to walk because that's my excuse to go listen to my fun books that I enjoy reading. And then, Jay Blahnik, who is Apple's senior director of fitness technologies, said that walking is one of the most popular physical activities in the world and one of the healthiest things that we can do for our bodies. And Jay helped invent or helped be a part of the team on the Apple team that created Time to Walk. That's their app, Time to Walk. And it's really, the idea is that it gives users a more engaged experience, the opportunity to listen to personal stories or music from influential people. So when I read about that, I didn't even realize that Apple had that. And so I'm used to listening to Audible, but I was kind of fascinated by that. So, but I think whatever makes you walk more, that's what's trendy for you. So the second trend that I read a lot about is crystal water bottles. So maybe walking itself is not trendy, but turns out having crystals in your water bottles seem kind of trendy to me. I've seen a lot of beautiful candles on Etsy and so forth where they put all the pretty crystals in the candles, but I've not seen water bottles with crystals. So, but turns out there's now water bottles that are said, we all probably have heard about healing crystals and all the different components that different crystals what kind of healing properties each one has. So when you have these infused in your water bottle, then maybe you infuse a little love or a little strength or a little creativity into your H2O as you're walking on your walk. Okay. The third trend that I read about was ear seeds. Now, these I knew about. I've used ear seeds. I went to a hypnotist when I lived in Chicago, and I also went to an acupuncturist. I wanted to try all different ways of, all different kinds of trends and wellness and Eastern medicine stuff that is out there to help us be healthy. And the acupuncturist put ear seeds in my ears, and you kind of put them on the outside. And I found them to be a little bit uncomfortable. They took some getting used to. They made my ears kind of sore. But he gave them to me because they were supposed to help me sleep. And they didn't help me sleep, but not a lot helped me sleep. So I can't really say that the verdict is out there on whether or not ear seeds can help you sleep. But they are supposed to do all kinds of things, like help alleviate pain, help with stress, all kinds of things. They are from kind of something taken from Chinese medicine, but they're little acupuncture devices that, again, go on the outside of the ears, kind of inviting calm and relaxation, everything from insomnia to pain. Okay. So another wellness trend that I read about was weighted blankets. So, I first discovered weighted blankets. I went to the Shambhala Center in Colorado right before the pandemic. I went on a meditation retreat at the Shambhala Center. It was amazing, by the way. And I remember, again, talking about sleep, and we were sharing concerns. And one of the gentlemen said, "Oh, a weighted blanket is the answer." And I remember growing up, we always had electric blankets. I was like, weighted blanket. So I have one now, and they're kind of cool. They are good. They are known for sleep. They're supposed to offer comfort and a sense of almost like when you get a hug, and you get that sense of calm and lower levels of stress. When somebody hugs you and it releases that oxytocin or yes. And Anyway, it helps lower levels of anxiety and increase good positive hormones. Okay. Lowers your stress cortisol. So it's also good for grounding. When you put a weighted blanket on, that weight helps you feel grounded. It helps you feel like you're not alone. It's almost like a safe thing that you wrap around you. So again, I'm Angie Miller, and I am talking about wellness trends, different trends in wellness that I read about for 2022 that we can all use to kind of bridge the gap between our mental health and our physical well-being. All right. So another one that I read about, I thought this one was kind of fun. We all have probably heard a lot about CBD. Well, it turns out there's CBD infused leggings. I know, CBD infused leggings. So, you know what? I did not know these exist, but they do. And it turns out they, I guess they maybe sewed the CBD into the fibers of the leggings, and then it kind of seeps into the skin of the wearer. But CBD is said to have medicinal properties. And now, hey, it's in leggings too. So you can take it in as a gummy, you can take it as some type of a liquid, or you can wear your leggings. So, but you can also find CBD in topicals. You can find it in beauty creams, all kinds of things. So here's the thing about the CBD and the leggings. They say that they maybe last for 30 wears. So it comes at kind of a pricey price for something that doesn't last for a super long time. So the other wellness trend that I want to talk about is the wearables. And I know that we have had wearables in our space for many, many, many years. But the thing about wearables is, man, they have really taken the wearables up a notch. So I just bought the Apple 7 watch series because I wanted like the blood oxygen sensor. Then I bought an app so that I could get heart rate variability and being set back a substantial amount of money by the time you get all that information. But there are so many innumerable options out there now in wearable trackers, and they provide such real-time data. Sometimes they require that you download an extra app. But there's the Aura Ring, the Apollo Neuro, and there's so many others that will track your sleep, give you heart rate variability, give you so much intel, and really just placing a greater emphasis on the fact that when we have information about our body, we are more empowered to take care of ourselves. We get to be our own personal doctor and mental health therapist and keep track of what's going on. Because anytime we're wearing a device, we have intel. I now wear my Apple Watch on one hand and my Fitbit on the other, and I like to compare the intel and see how accurate they are. But, it really does raise the bar on how much we understand about our body. And I think that's huge in our society. So the other wellness trend, I'm talking about wellness trends in 2022. The other wellness trend that I read about was conversations and communication to help us become more trauma informed. And I love this because I work for a hospital system, and of course I work in mental health. And there are tons of conversations about trauma informed. Having the nurses get trauma informed training, the doctors get trauma informed training, having obviously those who are psychotherapists get trauma informed training. I am going through a trauma informed yoga training right now. So having these conversations about trauma and inviting more conversations about mental health into our everyday society, I think is huge, and helping us all to let go of the shame and say, this affects a lot of us, and it really affects our entire society as a whole. So we are heading, I think, into a more trauma-informed society, and kudos to that. I mean, there are even communities on social media and communities all over that you can join where you can gather with people and share stories. So there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score, one of my favorite books about trauma, an amazing, amazing read. So the last one that I want to talk to you about is sustainable apparel. And I really like this one. And the reason why this one, my daughters talk a lot about sustainable clothing and how much of our clothing is going into the landfills and filling up the landfills. And so sustainable clothing, there are a lot of the Gen Zers and the TikTokers who are talking about thrifting and making thrifting the cool thing to do. When I moved to Charlotte, I really got into upcycling, and I upcycled all of our furniture that we bought 30 years ago. So all of our hard furniture that weighs a gazillion pounds, because we literally bought it 30 years ago when furniture was made of real wood. I upcycled it all. I refinished and repurposed it all, because the volume or the amount of money that you spend on furniture now furniture is almost impossible to get, but the amount of money that you spend in the quality isn't anywhere near the same. And so it turns out that's happening in clothing too. It turns out that secondhand clothing is on the rise because we have a more conscientious, younger community of human beings, thank goodness. And they don't want all that environmental waste. And so while there used to be a stigma attached to secondhand clothing, it's kind of almost gone the opposite direction. And when I read this, I had to laugh, because I'm the youngest of 5 girls. So all I knew growing up was secondhand clothing. All I wore was my sister's hand-me-downs that had been by the time it got to me, had been worn by 4 older sisters and had seen its better days. It's really unfortunate that sustainable clothing was not the cool thing then, because I would have been ever so cool when I was in school. All right. Can we just go back in time? So there's a lot more out there. Oh my gosh, there's so much more. But I want to get some experts on here to talk about some of these trends in wellness, because they are truly fascinating. Like I said, from the psychedelics to so much information out there on how trends in wellness as far as fitness, trends in wellness as far as our self-care, trends in wellness as far as sustainable products that we use in our home, and even trends in wellness as far as living with less and not having so much of so much around our homes. So those are some of the trends and wellness that I did a deep dive into. I hope you found those kind of interesting. What I really hope is that you'll weigh in and share with me any trends in wellness that you have found, that you have used personally or shared with your clients, or any thoughts you have about future episodes. So again, I'm Angie. I'm so glad you joined me for this Strong Mind, Strong Body podcast, and I look forward to seeing you next week.